warn our children.
Pep talk.
Sometimes no means yes. Grab them by the pep talk. Grab them by the Marco Rubio. Obama is a racist.
Pep talk.
I'm literally coming. I'm literally coming.
Pep talks.
We found weapons of mass
Pep talk.
destruction. My fellow Americans, it has been confirmed today from Pep Talks that we are indeed all high on politics.
Welcome to WYCD Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do. My name's Jake, and today we are talking about evangelizing and Venezuela. Not related necessarily, but those two things. It is, or it has been, common for the United States to get into violent situations around the world and not have any of the people back at home understand why we are doing what we are doing. This was truly sealed into American culture in the early 2000s. Even though we appear to have understood that the Iraq War was wrong, nonetheless, the idea that America can just unleash its military on unsuspecting countries or suspecting countries' innocence without the people understanding why it is happening, that really got sealed in 2003. Here's the hell of it. Actually, not 2003. Let me jump back. That's when we officially declared war, but we were okay with doing violence without understanding why that violence was being done. That's happening now, obviously, in Venezuela. But the key difference, I think, is that due to Trump's very public incompetence, it's too obvious for us to for the rest of the world to play along, and therefore for us to ignore. But nonetheless, you should understand that if you're an American hearing about foreign wars, you're going to have to start with basic education. You probably have not been told the context in which any of this stuff is happening. To you, it seems like, whoa, violence out of nowhere, suddenly. It must be a complicated issue that I don't understand. It is, in fact, a simple issue that you don't understand. I'm talking about the average American. I know you all, if you're watching this, likely follow the news pretty closely, have some idea of the history of the United States. Might have been paying attention for the last 26 years, even. But the average American doesn't. And as I have stated a bunch of times, we're past the era of being able to accomplish the things that need to get accomplished by merely working within our own group. In truth, that era was always hypothetical to begin with. It was always, well, if we win huge this next time, then we can do X, Y, and Z. If we win huge this next time, we can't do X anymore, but we might be able to pull off Y and Z. Well, look, if we win huge, and I mean a blue tidal wave, even though X and Y are now impossible goals because we've drifted so far away from them, we can still just eke out Z and then start building back America from there. Well, now X, Y, and Z are all gone. It doesn't mean we can't accomplish the things that must be done, but it does mean that we cannot do it without what I would call revolutionary reform. And that sounds exciting. That's the sort of thing lefties love to say, especially if they're going to waste your time, not actually get anything done. Revolutionary reform sounds exciting. Here's what it actually means: changes to the way America functions, structural changes put in place by Americans. For example, any of the amendments to the Constitution. That's revolutionary reform. The Bill of Rights, that's revolutionary reform. It was literally reform done right after the revolution. We need more of that stuff. And to get that stuff done, and just to give you real world modern examples, so what I'm talking about is universal health care, government funded, entirely run health care. Actually, no, it doesn't even have to be that specific. Just entirely government funded health care. That's revolutionary reform. Raising the cap on Social Security taxes to the degree that we need to. Instead of saying you don't pay any Social Security taxes after $250,000, no, utterly removing the cap. You pay Social Security taxes out of every dollar that you make, even if you're a billionaire. You already pay that if you're not a millionaire. You're already paying 100% of the dollars you make are subject to Social Security taxes. But if you are a millionaire or above, then only the very start to your funds every year get taxed, to your profits every year get taxed for Social Security. We need to utterly do away with the cap on Social Security taxes. That's revolutionary reform. It's boring. To actually say the part that gets things done is boring. And when you find your smelly, dirty, exhausted hippie friend out there mumbling about the need for revolution, even if they don't realize it, this is the sort of thing that they're talking about getting to. When you get all the interesting stuff done, that's what we need. Now, we could get the votes necessary by winning a giant argument that takes place every 2 years. Or we could take advantage of the fact that our politicians are supposed to be carrying out our will always, not just when they need to get re-upped for their position of power. We could take advantage of that fact and get people who disagree with us on other issues to agree with us on the major issues. And hence, I bring it back to the United States and its violence abroad. Even Republicans quite recently acknowledged that the Iraq War was bad. Even Republicans quite recently acknowledged that having diddlers in office is bad. We can work with this. Look, they don't need to agree with us that Donald Trump should be removed over his unleashing of ICE on the American population, on his taking of bribes for through various means, including crypto, including his inauguration, including the expansion to the White House, which is just a giant means of taking bribes. By the way, I promise you, all the money he took from these companies does not go to the renovations. They don't need to agree with us on every one of those issues. They don't need to agree with us necessarily that the illegal invasion of Venezuela is wrong. But they don't need to agree with us on all of those issues, just one. Because every one of those issues is something that you should take the president out of office for, that he should be arrested for. You only need to win one of these conversations. And the devil's trick is to try to get you to abandon a good point in favor of making a new argument. It's the same reason that Republican politicians lace evil, lace bigotry, lace needless cruelty into everything they do. Because you and I will be tempted to address that. It's because you and I have souls. And we're going to be talking to people who you would need the mightiest of e-readers, of Thetan measurers, to register any shred of a soul that remains. That's a trap. That's a trap that's there to get you making arguments that won't work. So, what to do? Well, keep it simple to start. If you truly understand the things people are saying on TV and on the internet and all these places, if you truly understand what these arguments are, but you are not able to put it in your own words, as in you repeat back the words you heard somebody else say, but you can't rephrase it. You can't make it simpler. You can't put it in terms that the person across from you will understand. Bad news. You don't actually understand. You've just been given enough information to put your worries at ease. But if you aren't able to take that information and do things with it yourself, like rephrase it, like simplify it, then you don't really understand. And that's okay. You're not supposed to begin with perfect understanding necessarily, but it should tell you what you need to do next. You need to understand more. And that doesn't just mean search for things telling me that, no, trust me, this information is correct. It's not about that. It's about your understanding of the information. So you need to grow your understanding if that's the case. And if I sit here trying to tell you all the ways you might have to grow your understanding, you might have to increase your knowledge, it might seem complicated, but it's not complicated. Because you will understand where you are weak. For example, if you don't understand what the Monroe Doctrine is, and you're talking about why it's bad that Donald Trump is saying it's the Donroe Doctrine, you don't have to go through all of U.S. history over the last 40 years or 60 years to understand what the Monroe Doctrine is. You just have to Google Monroe Doctrine and read a little bit so you're able to rephrase it. Evangelizing is going to be a major part of your life for the foreseeable future. Certainly throughout the next election, congressional, and certainly throughout the next presidential election. And even if we get rid of the entire Republican Party, which, by the way, is bordering on a legal maneuver, which is necessary. As in, for democracy to continue, we must acknowledge this is a criminal organization, the Republican Party. But even if we get to that point, we cannot afford another Obama. We certainly can't afford another Clinton, my God. We can't afford Gavin Newsom as president. We cannot afford, let me pick on my own state, Alyssa Slotkin as a representative. Gretchen Whitmer did a fine job as governor. She cannot be the president. This era has no room for neoliberal nonsense. It doesn't even have room for people who are going to pretend like neoliberal nonsense is the way to go, while they quietly do some kind of progressive things. It's just, it doesn't work like that anymore. So no matter what happens, you are going to be an evangelist. Because you have to be. Because we need people who do not already believe what we believe in order to get things to the place they need to be for this country to survive. Okay. How many of you feel like you understand who the opposition leader in Venezuela is? I'm betting not many. That's okay. It really is. I thought I knew who she was. I thought I had a sense kind of, it was vibes based. I saw that she got a Peace Prize recently, but there was some controversy because she thanked Donald Trump. I thought I understood. I was like, yeah, Kamala Harris, I get it. I didn't realize that this is the same woman that worked with George W. Bush to try to overthrow the government in Venezuela in the early 2000s. I didn't realize she was a collaborator, as somebody who attempted to work with a foreign country, that's us, to overthrow power in her country. Not very democratic, is it? And really, he's not really the sort of person who deserves a Peace Prize, is it? Do you remember when this couple, if you can go all the way back to a couple days ago, do you recall when I said that that Trump was dumb for not having the replacement ready to go? The old school way that the U.S. does regime change is we have a replacement leader who's going to be a puppet for us, ready to go. That was so obviously Maria Corina. Oh my God, Maria Corina Machado. And then we get rid of, kill or kidnap, the old leader, plug in the new one, and we say they run Venezuela now. See, we've done a good thing. But Trump is the clown version of imperialism. Trump is the imperial march played on the kazoo. And he's such a sensitive little boy, despite being a shriveled old man. He's such a sensitive little boy that when somebody else got the arbitrary, apparently meaningless Nobel Peace Prize, and didn't dedicate it specifically to him, didn't refuse to take it. Well, he said we're not gonna do old fashioned regime change anymore. Now we're gonna find somebody else. When you understand it from that perspective, when you understand that Trump was already trying to do something illegal and immoral, and that he did it incompetently over petty reasons, like he wanted a little prize. He wanted a trophy for peace so that when he went to war, when he started a war over oil, when he started a violent theft between countries, people would say he was a peaceful guy. I guess he just wanted the Peace Prize separately, and yet he knew damn well he was going to kill people for oil. He's such a child that he screwed up this whole plan over that. Understanding these things, understanding this very basic set of facts that are on the ground will help you talk to other people. This includes just being able to say, like, look, if he's lying about this, what else is he lying to you about? He was lying about the drugs, was he not? How many times did Trump say oil when talking about Venezuela? Why is it we need to occupy Venezuela for the drug thing? If we already got the guy who's apparently the leader of yada yada, whatever's making drugs, why do we need to have anything to do with the oil? We don't. It was an excuse. It was a nonsensical excuse. It was the same kind of lies that Russia talks about Ukraine. They said, oh, they're a threat to us. Well, they were plotting to get us. And Trump just said, you know, some of those drug deaths in our country, we're going to say a percentage of them are due to Venezuela, and that will be our excuse for thieving from them. He's lying. And he's going to spend the lives of your sons and daughters in pursuit of that lie. If we have a Venezuelan terrorist attack in the United States, that will be Trump's fault. Won't even be the fault of the terrorists. What are they supposed to do to respond to U.S. military might? Do we want Venezuela to have a military the size of ours? I would think not. We don't want any country in the world to have a military the size of ours, including the United States. Frankly, it's as much a danger to ourselves as it is to anybody else. So if they are behaving the way that we want, how should they, with having a sized military that's reasonable, well, how are they supposed to respond to having their sovereignty threatened over a lie? Send a group of adventurers with bombs and guns to the United States, a small group to scare the population, achieve political change with violence. Terrorism. By the way, Venezuela, don't do that. Right now, what you are doing is the most devastating thing you can do to the United States. On that note, I'm going to tell Venezuelans how to defeat us. Because right now, we're in the wrong. And I hope all of your soldiers that fire at our soldiers who are invading hit their targets. And I hope all of our soldiers that fire at you miss. I say this as an American patriot. This is because any of our soldiers that follow the orders to invade are breaking the law. Following illegal orders is still illegal in the United States. So I'm rooting for the people who are trying to kill our soldiers. And I hope that our soldiers simply refuse to invade, because you are stormtroopers being commanded by, well, nobody as competent as Vader, but whoever Vader would choke. That's who y'all are. 1 second. I'm going to read. We're going to take a brief pause. Record a quick. All right. Fair enough. Yeah. I'm going to tell Venezuelans how to win. So even though I am rooting for you that hard, and I'm willing to be blatant about the consequences of the conflict coming up, including the loss of American lives, I do not recommend violent opposition to Americans, at least not in an organized way through your government. I recommend violent opposition to the oil companies that are going to be there. You have got plenty of partisan groups scattered throughout the country. This was the very savvy decision of your leaders in the first part of this century. Have them attack your oil infrastructure. We are there for the oil. Destroy the oil. It is any money you could have made from it hypothetically is already gone. We've already stolen that from you. And hey, you should sue us as a country for billions and billions and billions to get it back. The profit you would have made. The environmental destruction that will happen as a result of the destruction of these oil fields, also already going to happen. Because capitalist occupation like this does not give a about environmental safety. They are going to put in the cheapest possible version of things that will extract your natural resources. And in the case, as this is happening, it is going to destroy the land around there. So listen, blow up the things, not the human beings. Destroy that oil infrastructure. Destroy anything trying to rebuild it. But do not have uniformed Venezuelan soldiers digging trenches, setting up mortars, yada, yada, yada. Why not that? Because the solution to this is not to outmuscle us. We are so obviously in the wrong that you can get the rest of the world to help you to do the main thing that you need to do to get us out of there. The U.S. military, by and large, truly is everything that, as far as I can tell, bear in mind I'm a civilian, but it truly is everything that U.S. presidents have bragged about it being and more. It really, really is a horrifying death machine. At one point, it was my job to review the sorts of things that we spend money on. And if even a tenth of that for the military, and if even a tenth of those things are actually true, no, you're not going to successfully outmuscle our fleet of drones that can kill you without you even seeing that they are there and they're directly above your head looking at you. It's not going to happen. What they don't say in all this propaganda is how expensive it is to run these things. What they don't tell you is, let's see if, you know what, in Latin America, DBZ is quite popular. It's the Kaioken of militaries. Incredibly powerful, yes. Also incredibly draining on us. Incredibly expensive. Attack us economically and get the rest of the world to join in. The rest of the world will not join you in an armed conflict with the United States. But you can get the rest of the world to join you in sanctions for the United States. And if you're talking about taking drones out of the air, taking boots off the ground, getting planes out of your U.S. planes out of your skies, that is way more effective than any bullet you could fire. What you must do, Venezuelans, is get allies around the world to stop doing any business at all with the United States until we end our invasion. Costs us $50,000 an hour to fly the sort of planes that we flew to kidnap your president. We flew 150 of those planes. Should have done this math beforehand, but let's do it now. 150 times 50,000. Okay. That cost us $7.5 million to kidnap your president, just in the planes. Just in terms of flying the planes, keeping them in the air in order to attack Caracas, kidnap Maduro. That one night of operations cost us $7.5 million. We could have opened up, we could have built and run for 5 years 4 public housing complexes. We could have provided homes for 100 Americans for the next decade, let's say, for that same amount of money. But instead, we chose to kill and thieve Venezuelan oil. Do you see the point I'm making? Yes, we are powerful militarily, but we have an Achilles heel, and I'm begging you to exploit that. We rely on money. Part of the reason that Trump was saying, oh, they're going to pay for it, the oil companies. Oh, somebody else is going to handle this. Before anybody was talking about how expensive it would be, is because he was briefed on how expensive it's going to be. Because he was briefed on the weakness that is the expense of such an occupation. Could have made this whole thing feasibly cheap. Could have made this whole thing cheap enough that it was actually a doable plan if he hadn't been such a baby about the Peace Prize. But he was. And so now apparently oil companies are going to run it. Really, the administration is going to run Venezuela. But they are relying on the bizarre notion that that somehow we're going to extract more money than we put in. Not with the U.S. military. And not if you cripple your own infrastructure. Destroy the oil where you can. Anytime the U.S. is not guarding it. And if you see, by the way, our mercenaries wandering around, don't even fight them. Just attack the inanimate objects. Attack the infrastructure. Attack the oil itself. And you will find we cannot sustain this invasion. We literally can't afford it. America is not only suffering financially now, we are about to suffer massively, just in this month alone, massively in terms of our finances. We simply cannot afford any of this. By the way, Pep Talks and Devil's Advocate Productions, what's going on, fellas? Delighted to have you. Wait, hey, Pep, do you want to come on screen for a second? Give me a thumbs up if you do. All right.
Hey, what's up, man? I'm just hanging out, listening to your show, doing show prep. It's easier just kind of being in the lobby.
That's awesome. That makes me delighted. So far, what do you think?
Honestly, I think that your take on Machado is pretty decent. And I think that it really does come down to him being slighted. That's why I kind of made my comment about how the dancing video, I do believe that that's what really, that was the catalyst that made him just greenlight it. Yes, it was set up beforehand, but they were waiting for something, and that was it, where Trump was just like, do it. I don't do it. Go get the rebellion.
Do you think they had plans with Machado, like they had made plans before the Peace Prize came out? I feel like they have to have. Like I feel like it couldn't have been a surprise to her that we were going to invade.
Well, it's not like Trump himself did it, so you have to wonder who in the administration was the one that really, who was the one doing it? Like, who was the one that gave him that idea? Because Trump doesn't do any, like, he is not an idea guy when it really is broken down. He is not the one going like, you know what? I have an idea. Why don't we just call her? Because since she's up for the Nobel Peace Prize, maybe she'll give it to, although, you know what? Now that I'm saying this.
I think invading Venezuela was in his plans since before he got reelected.
You think so?
Yeah.
I mean, it was in Project 2025 pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and we've known Venezuela. The beef with Venezuela goes way back, and the idea is just that in the early 2000s, they said, no, we're not going to let America continue to drain our natural resources. Get out of here. And that was a guy named Chavez. And then there was that was the 90s, but then through the 2000s. But around, I think, 2007 is when that happened. But ever since then, yeah.
I heard that this goes back to Noriega somehow. Like, does that make any sense? Because I don't know. Like, it really does seem like Chavez was the catalyst, because he was the first one to just be like, you know what? Nah, Exxon, you're not gonna take 80% of our profits anymore. Like, I brought up this point yesterday where if this was Trump, could you imagine if like we had a deal where we were giving up 80-20 and we were the ones giving the 8, like Trump being the business guy immediately be like, no fucking way. Like, come on. And that's where I'm kind of mad about MAGA not understanding like how blatantly obvious this is, where it's kind of I don't know, it's kind of crazy like how people are still like talking about drugs even, but I don't know.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to pick that up and go with it. How blatantly obvious it is. Thank you for joining. I want to talk about that specifically. I'll kick you off for a while, but you guys in the private chat, if you guys want to jump in, let me know. And maybe I'll make
thanks,
that.
Thanks for having me pop on, man. I appreciate that.
Thanks for being a random guest star. It was cool. So, yeah, that right there. How blatantly obvious it is. Good. Exactly correct. We don't need to get into the weeds about this. The drugs thing is an excuse. If it was about drugs, why are oil executives being tapped to run Venezuela? If it was about drugs, why do we keep hearing about all this oil? Why'd we steal an oil tanker? It's not about drugs. If you are talking to somebody who says, well, it's about drugs, but since we're there, we should thieve their oil. Point out that what they are discussing is thievery. No, they're not going to outright say we should steal their natural resources. If they say they're not their natural resources, they're our natural resources, say, that's funny. If they're our natural resources, how come it's located in their land? Look, if we really were concerned about drugs from Venezuela, we should make it a point not to touch the oil. It's not like a police officer is allowed to steal somebody's watch when they arrest them. Use it in simple terms. Break it down to simple terms. Well, look, hey, why are you complaining about me stealing this guy's watch? You know this guy's a spousal abuser, right? This guy hits his wife. Are you okay with wives getting hit? What's the matter with you? Just use their logic back at them like that. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's accused of being a spousal abuser or a spouse abuser. You're not allowed to steal from somebody as you are punishing them for a different crime. Rather, you're not allowed to do a crime to somebody just because you're punishing them for a different crime. Do you see? It is very simple. We can't steal their oil because we accused them of selling us drugs. These two things are not difficult to hold in your head at the same time. And once you get somebody to agree to that premise, that yes, we're not allowed to do a crime, like for example kidnapping, like for example thievery, just because we have accused another country of a crime, then it's time to tie it back to all the lies that have been cropping up. Oh, really? We're going in there because of the drugs, even though we're stealing the oil. Just like Trump says he's going to be transparent about the Epstein files, and then we found out he tried to redact his name from them. Same sort of idea, is it? Hey, Devil's Advocate Productions, give me a thumbs up if you want to come on. All right. Hey. What are your thoughts when it comes to explaining to those 60% of Republicans that were polled that supposedly think it's okay to do this? Notably, 40% don't. That's huge. But what do you? When we're talking to those 60%, what are your general thoughts?
Who don't think it's okay to do this, or who do think it's okay?
The 60% who think it is okay that we invaded Venezuela.
Well, Andrea brings up a good point. Actually, a police officer can steal your watch.
No, he can't.
Asset forfeiture. They can just say, this is related. I need to take this.
I see.
And I think
fair
to go to that point, if you're talking to someone who's like, well, we need cops. We need cops. You're an abolitionist. You're trying to convince them defund the police, abolish ICE. We need some kind of law enforcement. You just point them to, well, cops don't legally have any requirement to protect the public. Over and over in the Supreme Court, they have no reason, they have no legal restrictions on them to try and actively stop people from being harmed. And if people support, like, well, yeah, I guess, they're importing some drugs and he's kind of maybe a drug trafficker, it's okay to blow up these boats. And while we're there, let's take the oil. Then, yeah, you have to acknowledge that's thievery. And for people who are like, well, that's okay. All right, then what if it happens to again, going into what ifs and whataboutism is always an annoying way to argue with somebody, but people are dumb. And sometimes you need to. And go, what if this happened to you? Is it okay? Is it okay? Like, would it be cool with you if they bombed Washington, D.C. and then just snatched up Trump and brought him to Venezuela or Ecuador or another country, Israel? Is this okay? However, and then they started just divvying up our land. Okay, this part of Venezuela or this oil executive is going to control Texas and all that land. This oil executive is going to control Alaska. Is that okay with you? Would you be happy? Would you be like, oh, yes, welcome, invaders. Welcome, alien overlords, like that old Simpsons meme? Or is this, does this make you feel safer? Does this make you think that your gas prices are going to go down? Well, we'll have to wait and see, but they won't. And it's not, is this going to make groceries cheaper for you? Is this helping you get healthcare? Is this helping you get a job? Because the job market's shit right now. Is this helping
a lot
you
of
at
this
all
stuff,
materially?
I worry, is it's just all over the place. Like, I see what you're saying. You're saying, take this war that Trump is starting over nothing and say, does this help you? But I think doing so, well, it might be effective in the moment, drifts away and from the main point, which is, should we be allowed to do this? Is this the way that a civilized people behave? Because when we look at Russia, they lied about Ukraine, and their lie before the invasion was proven to be a lie. They were setting up an operation to try to like a false flag, and the Biden administration exposed it. But then they invaded anyway, and the whole world responded. This is the same thing. We lied about Venezuela, and then we invaded for oil.
It's Iraq. It's Iraq again. It's Vietnam again. It's all of these failed wars again, because I think they're all boomers and they're nostalgic for like, we're mind is right and rah nationalism and whatever. But also this feeling of we're the boss and we could take what we want and we deserve this oil and it's ours and you're stealing it from us. Like, that's Trump's whole thing.
They say
our oil, and it's like, it's under Venezuela.
Yeah, first of all, it's located in Venezuela. It is Venezuela's oil. But when they say ours, when they are saying that, the Republicans, they don't mean you and me. They mean Exxon.
Yeah. So
I think the primary question is, should Americans die for Exxon's profit?
Yes.
And when phrased like that, crystal clear. I mean,
just the and then for us millennials, or Gen Y as I prefer to be called, is this nostalgic for you? Remember Iraq? Do you want to go out in the streets again and protest for a year or two and nothing happens and we're stuck there for 20 fucking years? Do you want this again? Do you want your children now to be the ones going off to fight for Exxon's war? This is Exxon's war. This is Chevron's war. And we're also supposed to be getting away from oil, period, because of climate change, which again gets into other weeds and whatever. But you're fighting over a dying resource. You're fighting over a resource that is just continuing to be devalued over time with the advancements of technology. Now,
it's only relevant. The very people who are going to get us killed for it now are the same people who have kept that resource relevant And by the way, it's a finite resource. The sooner we get off it, the better.
Yeah.
Great points, man.
But also, they want mines for precious metals for the shit to build data centers, and also land to build data centers for their AI and their fucking crypto and all this stuff that you're right. It is a finite resource that they are trying to still siphon out money from everyone else because they're just competing with each other. I just watched Succession. So
we're old school invading aliens. We're showing up, trying to suck up the resources. It's ridiculous.
We are War of the Worlds right now.
Well, thank you for stopping by. I'm going to go back to preaching, but I appreciate you guys spicing this up. So I would say, when you are talking to folks, keep it simple, keep it on the principle of the thing. Really? Should we? And just keep relating it to everyday things that people can understand. Really? Should we be allowed to steal another country's resources based on a lie? We said, even if you think that we should be able to attack Venezuela over the drugs that they are not actually sending to us, and you think that we should steal Venezuela's oil, is it ethical? Is it the way a country should be allowed to operate, that you say you're doing something for one reason and then you do something else? No. Other countries can't trust us. Other countries are going to have to make sure that we no longer have the strength to do this, and they will bleed us slowly. They don't have a choice at this point, by the way. They do not have a choice. The main thing that could have hurt America is already beginning. Our main power, despite all the jibber jabber we do about our hard power, about how fearsome our military is, actually using it is not where we derive our power from. It's soft power. Our main power is the fact that the US dollar is the global currency. That's our main power. It's boring to talk about, so you rarely hear about it, but it's what the US has that allows us to get away with all the bullshit we do. It's not the military. That's just a cancer that's grown as a result of us not tending to any of our problems because we haven't had to, because we've been pampered by the fact that our soft power was supreme. It's now going away. So without that major safety feature, countries using the US dollar to trade, now they are literally, as we speak, Latin American countries, European countries are convening. And this is not me assuming this. This has been announced. They are convening to make different arrangements for trading in different currencies, not our dollar, because we are irrational. And without that in place, you are going to be left with having an incredibly expensive to run military that is obligated to be active. So not only is it expensive to run, but it's mandatory to run now, which means we are going to be required to lose money by the millions, by the tens of millions every single day. 150 planes were used in one night. That cost us $7.5 million just in terms of keeping the planes in the air. Now imagine that we have to keep patrols in the air and on the ground and on the water and under the water around this country every day, every single day, just to maintain what we have. We can't afford it. They can only harm the U.S. people so much before we're just too dead to steal any more from. Before you get angry at the people who disagree with you, at the people who are allowing this evil to take place, remind yourself that they are also victims. They know they don't know anything about how the world works. They know. Because they're going along with nonsensical plans. If it sounds like a nonsensical plan to you, it does to them as well. What you can be sure is they don't have an understanding of how that plan will equal their lives improve. Because that plan does not equal an improvement to their lives. Exxon getting more money doesn't make their lives easier. And they might have a little ditty that they say, a little phrase. Well, gas will be cheaper because Exxon gets it cheaper. But you know they haven't actually looked at historically how this has gone. You know that nobody sat down and showed them the charts of the expense of getting the fuel to us and how much fuel we already had within the borders of our own country, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because if that were to happen, they would see that they're being lied to. So because you know that their information is so surface level, you know that it's the surface level where you need to win. If all they're looking at is that surface, you just got to keep your arguments to that. Doesn't mean you don't need to have the understanding. You do. That's a magic trick you're going to have to pull off. You're going to have to know answers to complicated things, but have simple conversations. I've encouraged you to listen to Robert Reich. I now encourage you to get familiar with Maria Corina Machado and her past with the United States, being someone who encouraged the U.S. to take over power in her country. Not because you're going to shout this at folks, but because when somebody asks you, when you win that shallow conversation, really, should we be allowed to steal their resources because we accused them of something else? Haven't proved it in court yet, by the way. Might not ever be able to. Only accused. After you win that level of the conversation, if they ask you a follow-up question, that's when you seal the deal and you reveal that you know more about it than you had even been talking about, and that your understanding, the opinion you've presented to them, can be trusted because you are educated. Not judging people, not being cruel to people, not using it as an opportunity to mock them, but by giving them the same powers you had in that conversation, the same education you had. 53 minutes has flown by. 54 in 20 seconds has flown by. I didn't even get to the... What I was thinking was basically my main plea here. So we're going to do it now in the closing minutes of the show. For a while, I have vaguely been asking you guys to do something, and now I'm going to be more clear about it. I don't think you all need a show like this. In fact, I think less of us need shows like this. There's only so much accomplished by all of us agreeing with each other in increasingly sophisticated ways. I think folks like Dan from the internet and Pep Talks, Devil's Advocate Productions, sure. Raw News and Politics. Folks like this are good at what they do. But if we keep doubling and tripling down on this, we're just going to have people we're going to have a continuation of what we've already had culturally, which is a hyper cluster, or rather a small cluster of hyper educated people with no help. Nobody else coming to help us. Everybody talking to us like we're speaking Egyptian. What I would like you all to do is start a social media channel. anywhere, any platform that you're comfortable goofing around on. Not about politics. A social media, anything you're kind of good at. Or if you're really good at something. I'm saying, but if you have even a little bit of talent somewhere, start a social media channel. Even just start like a Facebook page and repost fun memes. I'm talking that level is of value to us. Why? Well, we need to get into the culture of America. We need to start treating this culture war like what it is, which means people who believe the things we believe need to go out there and interact with the population. If only so that the vibes of the internet go with us. You know, so that somebody's favorite cooking show is bummed out the day after Venezuela gets invaded. Somebody's favorite music channel is excited when it looks like Trump's going to get impeached. Even if they're not directly talking about it, just the vibes of the internet, of anybody's given online ecosystem, shifts to what we are feeling, to what we generally believe, to our morals, our principles. Why all these things? Because we've got to grow ourselves as a political force. And it is, again, not the details where we stumble. Next time, I suspect I will be talking about why progressives should not be on their high horse. Because even though we hypothetically, theoretically, have all the right answers, it is just theoretical. We haven't had enough power to have our beliefs about the world disproven. We haven't had enough power to have any of our theories tested. We haven't even had enough power to be corrupt. So right now, progressives look like saints, angels. But it's because we've never been out of Eden. We haven't even really walked the earth. There's a handful of us at most, and we're too busy being on defense to even get a chance to take a bribe. Doesn't mean we're the bad guys. I believe firmly that if you are at this era a progressive, you are an exceedingly good person. Because there's no motivation. There's just no motivation beyond a pursuit of truth. There's nobody that's going to give your channel an artificial boost. If you're a progressive, there's nobody that's... you don't get a dark little satisfying twinge. When you vote, you just maybe get a sense of hope, sense of relief, but progressives have not yet had an opportunity to shame ourselves. And the thing that we're going to have to talk about next time is that you should be ready for the stages that follow the elections this year. You should be ready, actually, even for the elections this year, people realizing that the winds are shifting in our direction, and therefore they come upon it. Graham Plattner, for example, may or may not be a genuine progressive-leaning person. We just don't know. And the thing of it is, I'll leave you on this cliffhanger, we still need to work with folks like that. We got to learn from MAGA. There's plenty of folks like Ted Cruz who came in preaching against MAGA and then did everything they demanded. We're going to, on our own side, need to do that. But that is a story for another show. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. Thanks again to Pep Talks and Devil's Advocate Productions. My name's Jake.